Cool, we're rolling.
Yay.
Welcome everyone to The Teacher Ate My Homework. This is an experimental episode that we're doing today. A bookmark episode, as it were. That's what we're calling it. We just came up with that name right now as we're driving on the Garden State Parkway on our way to Queens to record another full-length episode of The Teacher Ate My Homework.
In this podcast kind of day.
Indeed. So let me introduce myself. I'm George Robson. And
I'm Cheryl Mowczan.
And in this episode today, I'm going to interview Cheryl. That we're going to little her. This is going to be a shorter episode, and that's why we're calling it Bookmark. And we're just going to, basically it'll be just like every other episode that we've done, but kind of a brief introduction to one of our hosts, Cheryl Mowczan.
One of the two.
One of the two. So as a little intro, we don't usually do intros with the host or with the guest in the presence of the speaker.
Yeah, I never thought about this. What are you going to say about me?
Right, so I'm just going to, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to introduce Cheryl as I know her, and then we'll actually find out if any of that is true.
Oh.
So I've known Cheryl for most of my life. I think we met probably around when I was like 3 or 4. And we grew up together in my hometown, Ocean Grove. And we've been in like youth dramatics together and the same group of friends. And we haven't really done much creatively together until the podcast.
Yeah, this is kind of our first thing that I can think of.
Yeah.
Besides like plays and things.
But we've been friends for a really long time. So when I think of Cheryl, I think of her primarily as a friend, a photographer, because that's what I know she went to study in school, and a lot of the creative stuff that I've seen her do is photograph related, and a traveler as well, because like I feel like a lot of what she does is related to travel. So she's been to like Senegal, and she just got back from 2 years in South Korea, and you were in India for a while. So she's just been all over. And she went to Haiti with me once or twice. Yeah, twice. So that's been that's what I think of when I think of Cheryl Mowczan. Cool. So let's jump right in and get to know Cheryl Mowczan.
Tell me something. Mommy, tell me something.
Hi.
It's all good. Glad to be here. Late, absent, or tardy.
Where the hell did you come from?
It doesn't have to be a teacher. It could be like your cousin or whoever.
Best thing that I've ever done.
There has to be something human about that somebody's,
What I actually see is in lots of people, there's lots of things to admire.
This is weird. It feels weird that you're going to just ask me questions.
Yeah. Okay. So,
I'm nervous.
so to start off, let's see. Are we going to get our exit?
Yeah, this is 125.
Okay, cool. This is 125. All right, cool. So, first question I always ask: when you're at a party, social gathering, and somebody asks you, "What do you do, Cheryl?" What do you say? What do you do?
This happens a lot lately, actually.
Okay.
Because we're so young, like that's the question. Like, what did you do with your tuition? I always laugh first. I laugh and then I say, I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a freelance video editor and freelance video assistant.
Okay. Cool.
That's kind of what I say.
Yeah. And now, is that actually what you view yourself as? Or, like, if you had to give yourself a couple hats or one hat that defines you, do you have one? Or, are you still trying to figure it out?
That's what part of that is trying to figure it out. Like, I sometimes I don't even feel like I have a job, because I don't really.
Right.
I just kind of make my own jobs, or I search them out.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Now, you studied photography at Syracuse, right?
Yeah.
You went to Syracuse University.
Photojournalism was my major.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what made you... Is that something that you're still interested in, or was there a moment that you felt like, okay, photojournalism actually isn't for me, I'm not going to go into this professionally?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So I studied photography because I loved the classes that I took in high school, because I went to a communication related high school, And what I loved about photography is the
Communications, just as a side note for the listeners, that's like a vocational school for...
Well, it's like related to communications anyway.
Right,
Like,
yeah, okay, yeah.
That's just the name of the school.
But it wasn't a public high school, it was like,
Yeah. But it was public. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So the reason I liked photography is I love the way that light can make things look amazing or horrible, or, you know, light really changes the way you can perceive the world. And,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously. So I decided photography is awesome, and I got through I picked journalism for photography because I like the real world better than making my own.
Huh.
So.
Do you think
Sorry,
that...
I'm like driving.
No, it's okay.
Thank you.
Do you think that's rare, or is that something you've come in contact with other photographers? Like, do you think most other photographers prefer the world that they're creating rather than the one that they're experiencing firsthand?
Well, I will say that, like, by the time that we graduated,
Mhm.
there were literally 2 of us.
Okay.
Out of Syracuse University, we had, maybe 12,000 students graduated with us.
Yeah.
There were 2 of us with my major.
Wow. Okay.
Because people change, but like what they want to do. But
Yeah.
a lot of people they want to work in studio. They want to manipulate the light or make the photograph that they picture in their head.
Yeah.
I'd rather see it and like, it's like I discovered something beautiful,
Right.
kind of thing. I prefer that. And it is kind of, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's definitely less lucrative. So.
Yeah. Okay, so back to what was like the moment that may or may not have turned you off of pursuing photojournalism as a profession?
Photojournalism, typically, if you're getting into it, usually means newspapers. And
Okay.
I have gotten really frustrated with newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
They are not doing the things they're supposed to do successfully, I don't think. A lot of news organizations aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still geared toward an older audience, which I don't
Right.
think is good at all.
Yeah.
And it's very boring. My first internship ever in a newspaper,
Mm-hmm.
I thought it'd be super cool because I had a great, journalistic teacher in high school who, who got put to jail for her rights and as a reporter. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a journalist. And I had to do I spent a month on a story about a park that was opening in our county.
Yeah.
Like, it was very dry, and I was like, not happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a combination of that and the fact that we studied video in my photography classes as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to like that more because not only could you play with like the light that you have, but also you get to play with the motion that is happening in front of you and the motion of the camera.
There's another variable that
Right.
you have control over.
We're going north, right?
We are going north, yeah.
Okay. So I began to like that more, but I was afraid to. I mean, I wasn't going to change my major my senior year of college,
Right, yeah.
and into a very similar major too.
Mhm.
So I kind of, I don't know, it was freaking me out
Yeah.
because now I wanted to do something that I didn't study,
Mhm.
and just kind of have been learning, like by the street, like street learning. I
Right,
guess.
yeah.
Not by the books.
That makes sense.
Like since then.
No, so that's actually a perfect segue. Do you think, did that experience inform wanting to do this podcast?
What do you mean?
Well, like the podcast is called The Teacher Ate My Homework, and as you know better than most, we're trying to delve into how people handle structure and whether they kind of do well within either academic structures or political structures or self-imposed structure, or if they do better when it's kind of an unstructured situation. And for you, you studied photography in that kind of academic structure, but now you're learning video outside of that. Did that experience, do you feel like that kind of informed the kind of questions that you wanted to ask, like for this podcast? Or,
yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, especially the older people that we interview, they obviously have not, or most of the time haven't done the same thing
Mhm.
since they've finished their college career.
Right.
So I'm interested in learning how they kind of made the connections into jumping to a different field
Yeah.
completely, or like the way they segued between the different interests that they've had,
Mhm.
and it's really interesting to me.
Yeah, because I remember because you were the one that came after you moved back How many months had it been when you got back from South Korea?
That we came up with it?
Yeah, like you...
A couple months.
So a couple months after you got back from South Korea, you basically, we were having coffee together, and you were like, we should do a podcast about... And then you basically right off the bat were like, yeah, because you graduate school, and then what else is there? Like, and that was... I feel like that was the moment that stuck out of my mind, that like that was kind of the seed of what the topic of the podcast was going to be.
I just thought, like, I was talking to a student in college last night, and I was saying, like, yeah, college is great, but I love life after college better. And he's like, really? You have all these bills and stuff? Like, yeah, but I can do whatever I want with my life. I can go live in the Congo for a year. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm avoiding bills if I'm doing that, but I can do it.
Yeah.
I have no obligations.
Yeah.
In a way.
So, what? I guess I was gonna ask at one point, like, what was there a moment that kind of fueled the podcast thing for you, like that made you decide to come to me and be like, oh, we should do a podcast together?
Well, part of the reason, I will say, is that I had nothing going on at the time.
Okay.
That was still in my phase where I was like, I don't know how to do what I want to do. I don't know how to get into it. So I was just sitting around sewing clothes and just doing nothing every day. Yeah. So I think part of the reason why I wanted to start this up is because I miss doing interviews, and I miss asking people about their stories. Yeah. So this was a good way to start doing that again. Yeah. And like just getting the chance to, it's almost like meeting more people. Like so far we've kind of known the people that we've interviewed, but even still we get to hear more from them and hear interesting
we're able to get to know even the people that we know. We get to know them better as a result of the microphone.
I love watching movies, and they're really fun, and the dramatic ones are great. Yeah. But it's so much more interesting to me if you hear a crazy story that was real. Right. Yeah. So cool. I love documentaries. Yeah. I talk about these now. And that's one of the reasons why. Like, something crazy happened, and it actually happened. Right. So cool. Huh. So I want to find more of them, kind of.
That makes sense. Yeah. So the big question of the podcast is, how do you deal with structure? So, like, for you, do you feel like there have been kind of steps laid out either in school or outside of school that have kind of guided your path here in a pretty successful way, or do you feel like you would have potentially done better without some of the structure that you've encountered over the years?
I don't regret going to college. I don't regret studying what I studied, because I learned so much from that. Yeah. But it hasn't helped me after college. You think about how, the professors are telling you how to do photography and what to do journalistically and giving you advice, but they cannot give you a job necessarily, unless they own a company or something. So I kind of thought they would at least give you steps on, like, okay, you should apply here, you should have this kind of stuff in your portfolio, and that does, you do need that stuff. Yeah. But it also, a lot of it is just chance. Yeah. And it's not structured. And getting a job, at least nowadays in media, for me, getting a job is like, oh my goodness, praise Jesus, someone decided to look at what I have. Right, yeah. And do you think it's scary, but I don't know, I'm still figuring it out.
Do you think that had the emphasis been placed more on networking and creating your own work while in school, do you think that would have been more helpful than, was the emphasis in your major placed more on learning photography, learning the craft, learning how to do something, or was there kind of an emphasis on networking and getting a job afterwards?
From what I can remember, because I have a bad memory. Right, yeah. So you do your, I have my own things about the programs at Syracuse. They're great. Okay. Newhouse, I went to the Newhouse School, which is for all the communication stuff. Yeah. And a lot of great people work there. There's some problems with it though. So my first 2 years where I started studying, they teach you graphics, they teach you photography, I had writing, reporting classes and all that. So how to kind of stuff. And then The last 2 years were sort of like the practice of it, but because in photography they know that you need to know how to do tons of things nowadays.
Yeah.
So you're also learning video from the basics.
Oh, wow.
So that's again learning how to do something. And then senior year, all I can remember studying is law, which is not useful to me right now at all. I don't remember anything from that class.
Right.
And photo editing, which isn't useful unless you have been working in photography for a while.
Yeah. So it's fair to say the emphasis was definitely more on the craft and less on
and they
getting
had
work
tons of seminars
yeah.
about like how to network and
Right,
whatever else, but I don't think that's useful unless you internally know how to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I haven't really I've been figuring it out since I graduated, basically.
So it's not necessarily, you're not saying it's necessarily Syracuse, the organization's fault, but maybe kind of a societal trend that doesn't place an importance on that, or so I don't want to put words in your mouth. Yeah.
No, I think it's both.
Yeah.
There are some things like I don't have to get into it at all, but I wish that I had more chances to work around what I was studying.
Right. Yeah.
Rather than my freshman year saying, okay, I'll study this, and then not have the ability to change my mind like a couple years in very easily.
That makes sense. Cool. All right, so I think that's a good taste of kind of a few different topics that I want to cover about who Cheryl Mowczan is. But before we sign off, do you want to do a few rapid fire questions? All right, cool. So here's your favorite one that you always ask. What do you work better under the influence of, coffee or alcohol?
I know that it's alcohol. When I have coffee, I am like, I have no brain.
Yeah, which is ironic because we formulated much of this podcast over coffee.
Yeah.
But,
the things, like, I have no idea what I'm saying, and I'm just so scattered, I can't focus at all.
So definitely alcohol you work better on.
Alcohol, I get more creative ideas.
Cool. Do you have any morning routines or any routines in general that you feel like make you more productive?
The only routine that I have in the morning is trying to exercise.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll be like, no, it's not happening. Yeah. But at least think of it.
Okay. So the thought process of being like, wake up, maybe I'll exercise.
Yeah, I gotta do something. Oh, maybe not. But sometimes I do. And that's it. Okay. Other than that, I have zero structure. I don't know if that's good or not.
Yeah. Which is interesting because, as we've said before, it's like we're the opposite of each other, where I'm highly structured. So cool. That'll be an interesting podcast when we get to the next one. Tools of the trade that you couldn't live without?
A computer. And I unfortunately need that. I wish sometimes I could be a farmer and just be outside. Computer and I guess just social networking. Or social network.
Social media?
Yeah, social media. That's what I meant.
Yeah, this is like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah. I like without that. No, my smartphone. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
I just got one like a couple months ago. My first smartphone.
Wait, you didn't have a smarphone in Korea?
No. Oh, wow. I had a flip phone that was pink.
Oh, right, because you communicated on iPad. I forgot.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
I use my iPad. So my first smartphone is like eye-opening. I need it now.
Yeah, I can't. Well,
how do I look at my email?
I know. That's why I held off for as long as possible because I knew that was how it was going to be. So I've had a smartphone for about 2 years now, but yeah, I tried to hold off for as long as possible because I knew it was going to turn into that, where I was like, oh, I need this now, and especially being in Asia without a smarphone, I can't imagine that.
It was fine. I mean, my boyfriend did, so I just borrowed.
It's true. Yeah.
But it's not an addiction thing either. It's just I have a million different production companies that I'm in contact with as much as possible. Yeah. And if they email me and they don't get a somewhat recent response,
you've lost the job.
Yeah, I lost it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
They're bored already.
Yeah. All right, cool. And last question, which is the last question to all podcasts. If we were going to die in 15 minutes, if you were going to die in 15 minutes.
This is scary because I'm driving.
What would you do? If this car was going to crash in 15 minutes.
Don't say it. I would probably pray for the whole 15 minutes, to be honest. I think, I don't know. I think telling anyone would be kind of selfish.
Yeah.
What do you say? Then you have to explain the situation.
That's
true. Takes up more time.
Yeah. Be like, George just told me I'm going to die in 15 minutes.
So this is what's going on. It takes 4 minutes of just
your mom be like, well, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And then you'll be dead mid-sentence and you've wasted your 15 minutes. That makes sense.
So I think I would just pray wherever I was.
Yeah. Cool.
Because that's all I have left to do.
I feel like that's the correct answer. That's like the.
That's what I would do.
No, I know. It's just fine. Cool. All right. Well, this has been... Oh, so one last thing. How can people follow you, know what you're up to?
Well, I have a Twitter, but it's pretty useless.
Okay.
I do not go on Twitter.
Okay.
But my Instagram is my name, Cheryl Mowczan, and
That's MOW.
CZAN.
Cool.
Like a cat and a zebra.
Got it.
And my Facebook, I occasionally post things. And if you want to see my work, I have a Vimeo account.
Sweet.
That I not usually post to, but if I make some new video, it's up there.
And are all these things linked on your website, thecherylmowczan.com?
Yep.
Cool. So that's Cheryl. So CherylMowczan.
Yeah.
Sweet. So
That's how you know we're friends,
Yeah,
if you can spell
I
my
can spell
name.
your name. CherylMowczan.com. And so I've been George Robson,
This is Cheryl Mowczan.
and this has been the teacher and my homework. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later. Hey guys, George here. Coming to you from sunny Asbury Park. Three things. Number one, leave us a review on iTunes, please. Even if you hated the show, but especially if you loved it. Just leave us a review and let us know what you think. And that drives traffic and kind of gives us more visibility and allows us to keep doing what we're doing. So please do that. Number two, if you like the show and you want more, hungry for homework, as it were, check us out at teacheratemyhomework.com. On there are show notes and links to a lot of the things we discussed in the show today. So that'll be cool for you. And number three, if you have suggestions for future guests, or if you have just general feedback on things that you want to cover that you don't want to air publicly on iTunes, you can email us at teacheratemyhomework@gmail.com, or you can reach us at Twitter at TAMH Podcast. So that's all I got for you guys today. So I'm going to enjoy the rest of the sun. You should do the same. Talk to you later.